But more recently, PAL has accepted an even bigger challenge: keeping kids out of gangs and off the streets.
Apparently gang disturbance in the area.
They could die. Just like that on the streets, you can die.
Sometimes I don't even feel comfortable in my own home no more. Just scared.
We're going to take back our community from, from the violence, from the streets.
It wasn't long ago that Denver didn't really have a gang problem. Through the mid-'80s, there were about 100 or so gang members scattered throughout the city. Today, Denver's gang population tops 4,000. And every day, more kids are lured into the gangs with promises of money, drugs, and power.
I've been enrolling 90s crib for like 5 years now, all right? Have money whenever you want money, have cars whenever you want cars, anything, man.
They join the gangs, they become somebody, they get a new identity, they get protection, they get money, they get drugs, they get food, they get clothes. So to them, it's a new way of life. It's a new way of being somebody that they weren't before.
How much do you have?
Oh, it's 2,000.
2,000? What do we do with so much money?
I just got my money off the bank.
$2,000 for any of these kids to carry around with them at any given time really isn't that big of a deal. It's just a part of them doing business. It all ties in together. There's no doubt that that's drug money.
For Denver's young gangsters, drugs mean money. It's serious business, and weapons are tools of the trade, both for protection and prestige.
Apparently has the party on the ground. Suspect is armed with a gun.
This is a Ruger 9mm, holds 15 rounds. What he's carrying in is Hydroshock ammunition, same type of ammunition that we're carrying. From their perspective, you're better off to get caught by the police with a gun and face a minimal fine and probably not any time in jail at all, than to be caught without it by a rival gang and take the chance of being shot.
Put your hands on top of your head.
So far this year, there have been more than 247 gang-related shootings in Denver, and nearly everyone we talked with knew someone who had been either shot or killed.
He was sitting in the backyard with my little cousins. Some other Crips came and shot him in the back.
Some dude just shot him because he couldn't hang, getting his ass kicked, so he pulled out a gun and shot him.
He got out the car to chase some other gang members, and one of them shot him, turned around and shot him.
What happened to him?
He died because he choked on his own blood.
It's not easy getting these kids out of gangs once they've joined up. The pressure to remain involved is simply too great. But if we can get to them beforehand, show them that there is a positive alternative to gangs, then we may be able to make a real difference in their lives.
The gangs are going to tear you down, put you in prison, and the drugs will kill you.
Ask me if I believe in God, and I'll say yes with all of my heart. And I'll tell you I do with the last breath I take. He is the one I belong to. Ask me to give up my life, and I will.
When Misty first became pregnant, I wasn't as excited as a lot of men that I know who were brand new daddies. I had visions of Misty and I spending time, a year, maybe 2 years, going places, doing things, and enjoying this exciting life we just embarked on. So I wasn't too excited until Cassie was born, and when I saw her enter this world, it really did change my life.
If they were going to shoot me, they had to look me in the eyes. So when they went over to Daniel, I watched Eric, kill Daniel.
They were saying things like, we've waited to do this our whole lives, and then they'd shoot someone and you'd hear someone like scream, and then they'd be like, who's next?
One of them had something that looked like an assault rifle, but they moved like cops would move through a house that they're trying to get, they covered each other.
Well, I got a call at about 11:10, and it was one of the girls that's a leader in our youth group, and she said there's something crazy happening at Columbine.
I hung up and I just went down the list of our roster, our high school roster, and called everyone that I could think of that went to Columbine just to either let their parents know or find out if they were okay. And I still have that list, you know, the checkoffs of, oh, she's okay, he's okay. And I think the Bernals were the first family that I called.
The helicopter cams were able to get perfect pictures of these kids because we know who they are and their shirts. But Cassie was still missing.
At the public library, they were printing lists of injured kids, and there was an elementary school where they were having kids go too. So there were two areas they were checking in, and they were faxing lists of students' names back and forth, and I didn't see either the kids' names on any of those lists. And a couple hours later, I got a call from Brad that he had heard from Chris, and that Chris was heading home, and nothing from Cass.
After they came behind the librarian's desk and stood in front and, you know, said all the jocks stand up, that's when they went over into the far section, which is where Cassie was. And as they got closer, you know, she started to panic, oh God, I mean, which is understandable. And then one of them, I don't know which one, I couldn't really tell between the voices, they were pretty similar, asked her, you know, do you believe in God? And there was a pause, for probably about 20 seconds to half of a minute. And then she said, yes, I believe in God. And then they asked her why, and they didn't give her a chance to answer. And all I remember is 2 shots going off. And, I mean, we didn't hear from her again.
I was a little concerned that she would be a hard kid to turn around just because she was so resistant. The hope that I had in working with them was how strong Brad and Misty's faith was. And she was a fighter. She is Misty. She is a fighter. She was not going to let her kid go. And that gave me a real sense of hope and a sense of purpose that this is going to be a battle, and I had some hope that they would win.
Placing her in a Christian school as the alternative, we thought was the only direction for us to go, since we had brought her up with Christian values. We thought, well, let's surround her with other kids and adults that share those same values.
This is a portion of an essay Cassie wrote not too long before she died. It was for an English class. And she writes, luckily there was one girl from Christian school, Jamie, who befriended me and took me under her wing. She was very open-minded and accepting, something I didn't find in any of the other kids. She was also the only person I didn't refuse to listen to.
She told me about the notes that her parents had found about her and a friend talking about killing their parents and violent stuff, and just drinking and skipping school. We stayed together pretty much the whole time. And so we'd have our small group times, and I was pretty happy because Cassie was really opening up to one of the leaders there. And then at nighttime, we'd have a big chapel service. I don't know what I was expecting from that with Cassie, but it was amazing. And that night she opened her life to God. Of course there were tears and hugs and overwhelming joy, inexpressible joy, you know, and we talked about that and just how cool it was for her and how different she was gonna be, you know. She didn't even, you know, she could feel it in her heart.
When she came back, we saw the bus roll up, and then they had so many kids, they had to take some of the kids' cars.
And I seen her, you know, this long-haired blonde girl with, you know, beautiful eyes. And I says to myself, I says, okay, these people aren't going to be able to relate to the men that I have here in the home, because I have approximately 17 men in my home, you know, at all times. And most of them are blacks or Hispanics. They've been gang members and drug addicts. And here's these kids from the suburbs, you know, that probably have been, you know, spoiled or whatever. And, but, you know, the time came during the service, and it always does. We have a special time where we challenge the kids to get up and to testify.
When I heard Cassie's testimony, I realized that we both had similarities. And she was on drugs, and I was on drugs. And the more that we talked to the youths from West Bowles, the more we had similarities. And we all wanted to come to find Jesus Christ so we could change our lives around.
We had all these plans that we were going to go to medical school together and then move to England, and we were going to be roommates and go travel and take beautiful pictures of beautiful England, and just we had so many plans for after high school.
She had such high ambitions for herself. I want to go to Cambridge. I want to go to England.
We feel like God has put something very special in our laps. And so we have vowed that we will not forget Cassie.
She's never liked being elevated or put in the spotlight. And I think even to us, I don't really see her, it's hard, I can't see her as a martyr. I can only see her as my daughter and the little girl that I miss every day and wish that I had back.
We need to realize that a lesson is to be learned here. And the lesson obviously is that we need to start looking towards the hearts of the people involved and making sure that the right things are happening at home before they get to school. We need to listen to what the kids are saying so that we know what their internal problems are and what we may be able to do to help them.
There's a point where we have to remember where we came from, and we have to remember those that were killed. And there's a legacy that we want to carry on for them. And so if we can move on and still acknowledge that, I say, yes, let's move on. But don't move on without that.
Cassie's life came full circle. She was headed down this dark pathway, and then ultimately the boys were headed down a really dark pathway as well, and they were the ones that ended her life. And I feel that it's very important for parents, even if they're afraid to lose their kids, that if they suspect something's wrong, that they need to take whatever actions they have to take to ensure that their kids are headed down the right pathway. And sometimes that means that you're not your kid's friend. It means that they don't love you like you want them to love you, but that you know what's best for them and that you need to be strong and take a stand if you know they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And hopefully when they are older and adults, they will come back to you and let you know how much they appreciated what you did.